The village girls have all gone to snatch a man. I did not go, as I have been reborn. I know that pathetic, unwanted cripple will one day become the regent who holds the imperial court in his grasp. The one who would betray my sincere heart, fill his halls with wives and concubines, imprison me for 10 years, and humiliate me night after night. I dare not buy him anymore. I just want to live a peaceful, safe life. But I didn't expect that very night the village chief would knock on my door with a smile. Wanwan, do you want a husband or not?
Welcome to a journey of love and destiny under the moonlight. I'm the voice behind moonlit love stories. Now let us step into the story.
Thud. I slammed the door shut in response. Leaning against the door, my mind reeled. An illusion? After rebooting my life, how could I be seeing Potong again? The village chief pushed the door open, looking at me with displeasure and confusion. Wanwan, what's the meaning of this? Disgusted because he's the leftover no one else wanted? No matter. I'll give you a discount 10 coins. How about it? As he spoke, he dragged me outside. He pointed at the man slumped against the wall, weak to the point of extremity, speaking with forced generosity. Didn't you always fancy pretty young men? Look at him, so handsome. Even if he's a half-dead cripple, a good wash and he'll be serviceable. Potong was badly injured, his face filthy, clothes ragged, a truly wretched sight. Leaning against the wall, he quietly lifted his gaze to me. His eyes held an innocent fragility, yet they still managed to send an unwarranted shiver down my spine. And no, village chief, if no one bought him, couldn't you just send him back to the authorities? I thought if I didn't go, the unwanted Potong would have already been returned. How did he end up delivered to my door? Qingchuan village was located in a desolate borderland, the junction between two nations. Most able-bodied men had been conscripted to the battlefront, never to return. The weather and soil were poor, making it hard for the village's elderly, weak women and children to manage the harsh grain taxes and levies. Short on funds and supplies, the authorities sometimes, under the banner of compassion, sent criminals exiled here for hard labor. 20 coins could add a strong laborer to a household. A bargain by any calculation. So whenever the authorities distributed men, it always sparked a frenzy. In my previous life, on this very day I went too. Penniless, just went to watch the spectacle. Unexpectedly, I stumbled upon a windfall, bought a severely injured but breathtakingly beautiful young cripple for 10 coins. Back then, everyone in the village laughed at my foolishness. Someone injured like this, bring him home, forget helping with work, he might not even survive. Even if he lives, that cold, arrogant look in his eyes means he won't be an easy one to manage. I didn't listen, took him home and tended to his injuries with utmost care. Who could have predicted? Not only did the little cripple survive, he treated me with extreme devotion, poured my tea, fetched my water, studied for imperial exams for me, built a career for me. Oh no, to be precise, not for me but to deceive me. Because it wasn't until the day he welcomed his regent's consort that I finally awoke. Turns out, his past kindness was only because marrying me allowed him to shed his slave status, take the exams and escape Qingchuan village. All the affection and sweetness I believed in was, for him, mere endurance and humiliation. This man never loved me at all. What nonsense are you spouting? Someone discarded by the authorities, how could they take him back? The village chief was also vexed. Previous years saw frenzied grabbing, no leftovers, no such headache. Who knew this year a cripple would cause such a change? This person, even if he's a burden, we absolutely cannot send him back. After speaking, the village chief glanced up at me. Seeing me silent, staring blankly, he thought I was haggling over price, gritted his teeth. 5 coins. Not a coin less. It's not about the money, village chief. 1 coin. Village chief, I really can't take this man, he. Wanwan, the village chief interrupted, his face darkening. When I took you in back then, did I say a single extra word? I was immediately silenced. The hardest debt in this world is a favor. Once it's incurred, you're forever indebted. All these years practicing medicine in the village, treating countless ailments, saving numerous lives. It never quite erased the debt of the village chief taking me in during that snowstorm. All right, village chief. I sighed and agreed. I didn't notice Potong by the wall lower his eyes. a look of relief flashing across his face. Keep staring and you won't need those eyes. As I wrapped bandages around Pei Jiotong's chest, the distance between us was minimal, our breaths mingling. I could feel his gaze without looking up. Pei Jiotong paused, his now washed, delicate features showing bewilderment. Wanwan. I tied off the bandage, cut the excess with scissors, stood up and created distance. My expression was cool. Wanwan is not for you to call. Address me as Miss Qin. But you bought me. Pei Jiotong's tone grew urgent. I should marry you. Ha, so eager. Afraid that without marrying me he can't shed the slave status, right? Criminals entered into slavery were supposed to remain slaves for generations. But now, if purchased and redeemed, they could change to a farmer status, regain a clean record. Such a chance once in a lifetime, no wonder he employed every means so anxious. The candlelight flickered. I looked into Pei Jiotong's ink-black eyes. He truly had exceptionally beautiful eyes. Looking at me like that, it was easy to fall for the illusion that his eyes held only deep affection for me. Pity it was fake. I will help you shed the slave status. But not as a husband. As an elder brother. From now on we address each other as siblings. Pei Jiotong immediately frowned, his voice low. Siblings. I lowered my gaze with a faint smile. Yes, siblings. In my past life I was the fool, overestimating myself. On his wedding day I packed my things, left heartbroken, ready to spend my remaining days in Qingchuan village. He intercepted me with soldiers, forcefully brought me back. Frowning, as if utterly exhausted, he sighed. Wanwan, you should understand, my regent's consort cannot be a country bumpkin. Stop making a scene, come back with me. Aside from the title of consort, I'll give you everything. Naturally I refused. But when did he ever listen? He imprisoned me in a villa on the capital's outskirts, kept me like a nameless, caged songbird. For 10 years. Until his consort could no longer bear it, forcibly barged in with her people, and had me drowned in a pig cage. Pei Jiotong's chest heaved several times, his tone stiff and cold. I won't be siblings. I looked up at him, surprised. What? Still planning to use me as a plaything to vent his frustrations during his rustic loneliness? Pei Jiotong, you really are something. No. We cannot be husband and wife. Why? Because I have a betrothed. I lowered my head, fingering the love knot at my waist. They all say he died on the battlefield, but I firmly believe he will return. Pei Jiotong's eyes trembled violently as he sat up from the bed. The movement was too abrupt, the freshly bandaged wound seeping red again. But he didn't cry out in pain, just stared at me fixedly, his gaze eerily reminiscent of his later years, cold and obsessive. You have a betrothed? I met his gaze unflinchingly, my expression calm. Yes, I do. I truly did. His name was Xiao Heng, the eldest son of the wealthy Xiao family in town. We met at the village school, grew up together, childhood friends of a sort. 4 years ago, Xiao Heng was forced to answer the conscription call and join the army. He never returned. Such things were common on the border. Over time an unspoken rule emerged. If not back in 3 years, the marriage contract is void. So, me buying Pei Jiotong wasn't actually improper. Later, in our constant closeness, living together day and night, moved by Pei Jiotong's masterful acting, I left Qingchuan village with him. When we left, Xiao Heng had not returned, probably truly dead. But it didn't matter. In this life, if I insist on waiting for him, who can say anything? Either be siblings or remain a slave. Choose one. As I spoke, I raised an eyebrow. Tilting my head, I watched Pei Jiotong's gloomy face, mockery in my heart. He was naturally displeased. After all, a sister couldn't be used for venting desires or warming his bed. And indeed, after hearing my options, Pei Jiotong's thin lips pressed tightly together. His gaze upon me was suppressed, the flickering candlelight reflected in his dark pupils. His chest rose and fell several times, his Adam's apple bobbed, and he almost squeezed 2 words from his throat. Siblings. Not surprising in the least. I pursed my lips into a slight smile, packed the medicine box and stood to leave. Turning at the door, I looked back at him. Rest early, elder brother. Pei Jiotong's fist clenched instantly. The door closed, silence enveloping the room. Amid the crackling candle, Pei Jiotong's gloomy, low voice mixed in. Ha, elder brother. That night, I dreamed of my imprisoned past life. The first half trapped in Qingchuan village, a lonely girl repaying a debt. The second half trapped in a walled compound, Pei Jiutong's secret mistress, his lowly kept woman. That short life of barely 30-some years. I never saw the extreme cold of winter, the unrestrained downpour of summer storms, the free, vast mountains and rivers. A sudden knock jolted me from the dream. Upon opening my eyes, a feeling of weightlessness, like falling from a great height. As my breathing settled, 2 words pulsed there: freedom. Wanwan, I made some kanji. Come have some. Pei Jiutong's voice came from outside the door. My pupils constricted slightly. Plan formed in my mind. Last night you said you were the son of a duke's household that was purged. The kanji was well made, soft and fragrant. I looked up at Pei Jiutong. So you're literate? Pei Jiutong nodded, lips pressed. Yes. Excellent. I pointed to the bookshelf in the study. There's a book on medicinal herbs on that shelf. Please take the trouble to compare the pictures and text. Pick out the pseudoginseng, blatilla, and Angelica dehurica from the medicine cabinet. Then, spread them on the winnowing trays in the courtyard to dry. If I remembered correctly, a money-making opportunity was coming. I needed money to leave this place. Pei Jiutong seemed not to expect this arrangement. After a stunned moment, his expression turned awkward. But I'm still injured, my leg also. You managed to make kanji while lame, you can manage to dry herbs while lame. Anyway, I gave him a flat look. I don't feed idle people. Can't let that saying come true. Cheap goods are no good. Can we? The little cripple all the village girls rejected, discounted and pushed onto me. Scheming, pretending affection, using me as a stepping stone. Wasn't that cheap goods are no good? A damaged item bought for 1 coin, surely I shouldn't, like in my past life, treat him like a treasure? He should do something for me too. Pei Jiutong's expression froze. Complicated and hard to read. I couldn't be bothered to decipher it, nor could I, just gave him another indifferent look and turned to leave. My wrist was suddenly grabbed. Pei Jiutong looked at me, actually seeming nervous. Where are you going? I didn't say I wouldn't do it. I curled my lips in a light smile, prodding him with words. The household suddenly has an extra mouth to feed, an extra leg to treat. Shouldn't I gather herbs to earn money, elder brother? What I didn't say was, leaving Qingchuan village, traveling the land, both required silver too. Although I usually treated patients in the village was tiny, full of familiar faces. Getting a block of tofu or a handful of greens as payment was the norm. Some even just gave a sheepish laugh, considering it payment enough. So my poverty wasn't an act. Pei Jiutong hobbled in and out, carrying herbs to dry. His limping figure looked utterly pitiful. I'd scared, feeling a slight twinge of conscience. Working so hard, want to make a request. Pei Jiutong paused. After a moment of silence, his voice was very soft. Don't call me elder brother. Call me Jiutong, all right? Conscience retracted. I pursed my lips. No. I couldn't understand why he was so fixated on that form of address. As if calling him that could change anything between us. In my past life I used to pester him, calling Jiutong over and over. He would always frown, say it was affectatious, and ordered me to call him elder brother in public. I really had remembered correctly. 5 or 6 days later, the restless Xiongnu began attacking the border more and more frequently. Soldiers and townsfolk were heavily injured. The 3 blood-stanching herbs, baiji, sanqi and baiji, were suddenly in sky-high demand. Market prices soared 20-fold. And within miles, my courtyard happened to have the most abundant supply. But I didn't raise prices. I needed money, but I wouldn't make it off war and death. So I set rules. Limited visitors per day, limited quantities, not treating or selling to even 1 additional person. Even so, I was exhausted every day, barely able to stand. After sending off the last patient, too tired to walk back to my room, I slumped onto the stone table in the courtyard and fell fast asleep. I slept deeply, I didn't know for how long. What woke me was a pressure on my lips. Someone was sighing faintly, their mouth brushing mine. Then gently, slowly pushing in. I frowned, disturbed. With a soft groan, I opened my eyes. Pei Jiutong was standing beside me, the back of his hand pressed against his nose as he coughed lightly. Wanwan, time to eat. I blinked confused, touching my lips. Couldn't tell if it was dream or reality. Probably a dream. Potong had no reason to steal a kiss. This is some soup bones Auntie Nyo next door brought over. Said they're good for stewing. Want to try? Different from my past life. The one who used to cook every day trying new recipes hoping for even a bite. Wasn't me anymore. It was Potong. Simmered on low heat for 2 hours. Potong served me a bowl of soup, eyes bright with expectation as he watched me. The village chief hadn't lied. The little cripple was insanely good-looking. Cleaned up with thick brows, dark eyes, broad shoulders and narrow waist. Even coarse clothes couldn't hide the shape of him. In just a few days, half the girls who'd rejected him were now green with regret. But I didn't want to look at that false face. I simply drank silently, saying nothing. The anticipation in his eyes finally dimmed into disappointment. Wanwan, you're so warm to everyone else, but to me you won't even say a word? This soup, does it taste good? Warm broth slid down my throat. I raised a mocking brow. It's good. So, no one knew better than I did. Everything Potong ever did came with a price. If he treated me well, it was because he wanted something. Warm? Gentle? In my past life I gave him all of that. But in the end, did he care? So, Potong's Adam's apple bobbed as if consoling himself. As long as you like it. So fake it made me lose my appetite. I set the bowl down and glanced at his leg. Reset by me, now healing well. What he wanted from me were nothing more than 3 things. To shed his slave status, to heal his leg, and to take the imperial exam. The first 2 were done. The last he never mentioned again. Then what were all these days of tenderness for? What else did he think I was worth scheming for? I frowned, about to speak, when the door was suddenly pounded on. Urgently. Physician Chin. Please save him. Save our Deputy General Xiao. My door clearly had a notice. No consultations after the Shen hour. Why was someone knocking during Su hour? I remained seated, not intending to open. Rules were rules. Physician Chin, I know your rule. But we're desperate. We're border guards. We were ambushed by Xiongnu. Our deputy general took 7 slashes. He's dying. All the apothecaries in the city are out of herbs. Only you can save him. My heart sank. I shot to my feet instantly and rushed to open the door. A soldier defending our homeland must not die in front of me. 2 wounded soldiers carried in a man drenched in blood. Under the dim candlelight, he lay on the bed, breathing faintly. His face was unrecognizable through blood and mud. Clenching my teeth, I tore open his black uniform. A familiar red object slipped from his chest. A love knot. Identical to the one hanging at my waist. Right, the soldier had said Deputy General Xiao. Xiaoheng. My hands trembled. I drew a sharp breath. Being reborn wasn't as shocking as this moment. Xiaoheng being alive. Thankfully I had stocked enough medicine. Thankfully my medical skills were enough. Xiaoheng survived. After a night of burning fever, he woke the next afternoon. Wanwan. Xiaoheng leaned against the bed, smiling wanly but relieved. Long time no see. I really didn't know how to respond. Separated in our past life. Reuniting in this one. We had so much to say. Yet somehow those 4 words were enough. Let me clean your face. I turned away, took the towel from the basin, wrung it out. Sat back down and gently wiped the blood and grime from his face, revealing that handsome, heroic countenance bit by bit. Xiaoheng glanced at his arms suspended in slings, then chuckled softly. When we were kids you wiped your snot on my clothes. Now you wipe my face. We're even. I wiped seriously. It's different. Not comparable. The door pushed open. Potong stood there carrying food. When he saw the scene inside, his pupils contracted. His expression went freezing cold. He hobbled inside. Xiaoheng wasn't blind, he sensed the hostility. Wanwan, who is he? Potong, I said calmly, continuing to wipe. My elder brother. A cold sneer escaped Potong. His eyes lingered on Xiaoheng, but his words were for me. What? Someone Wanwan knows. I stopped, picked up the love knot beside the bed, and handed it back to Xiaoheng. Then I lifted my gaze and met Potong's eyes. Elder brother, this is Xiaoheng. My long-lost, returned betrothed. The food tray clattered to the ground, porcelain shattering. My wrist was seized a second later, painfully tight. Pejotong's expression twisted as he yanked me up. "What did you say?" Pain shot through my wrist. I struggled, but his grip was iron. Anger flared, disgust flickered in my eyes. "I said he's Xiaoheng. My childhood sweetheart. My fiancé. Does elder brother need me to repeat it?" His pupils shrank sharply. Then, as if frightened away by my look, he slowly released me, took several steps back, regained his breath. When he looked up again, his expression was calm. "Congratulations, Wanwan. You finally waited for him." Sincere, composed. So calm it chilled my heart. This was the real Pejotong, the man who could bury his emotions deep, whose acting was flawless. Under that mask, who knew if it hit a blade or candy? I didn't want to find out anymore. Pejotong said nothing else. He cleaned up the broken pieces and left. As the door closed, a strange dread crept up my spine. Based on my past life knowledge of him, the calmer he seemed after suppressing emotions, the bigger the storm inside. I felt that Pejotong wasn't emotionless. Rather, his eyes look like he wants to kill me, Xiaoheng said suddenly. I forced a smile. You must have mistaken it. He clearly congratulated me, at least on the surface. Xiaoheng raised a brow. Really? Didn't look like congratulations. Looked more like jealousy. I cut him off. Why keep the love knot? He froze, then the tips of his ears flushed red. It's a token of affection. I kept it as a memento. I let out a dry laugh. You disappeared for 4 years. The engagement is void. What memento? What do you mean disappeared for 4 years? Void. Xiaoheng straightened immediately, frustration and sorrow clouding his expression. Didn't you send a letter saying you found a better man and didn't want me anymore? Then, muttering under his breath, I nearly died on the battlefield that day. I was stunned. What letter? Then realization hit me like ice. I couldn't help a cold laugh. I really thought you changed your heart, Xiaoheng said bitterly. The candlelight was dim, but the affection in his eyes was unmistakable. My heart jolted. I suddenly realized this reunion wasn't fair. Because for Xiaoheng, our separation was only 4 years. From 16 to 20. I was still the childhood sweetheart he had carried in his heart since his first awakening of love. His feelings remained at their passionate beginning. But for me, it was a love from 30 years ago. Long buried. In that time I had lived an entire lifetime without him, and buried him as nothing more than my first love. Even with time reversed, how could I bear this youthful sincerity? Xiaoheng fell asleep. Rubbing my sore shoulders, I returned to my room. But the moment I pushed open the door, a large hand reached out, dragged me inside. My back hit the door. Pejotong caged me in. Pejotong, what are you doing in my room? What? Not calling me elder brother anymore. He raised a brow, a cold smile tugging at his lips. Nothing like the past few days' gentleness. More like the him from my past life. I steadied my breath. If you're an elder brother, you shouldn't barge into your sister's room. Let go. Get out. Pejotong chuckled, nodding. Right. A normal elder brother shouldn't. But I never wanted to be your brother. His smile was shameless, unhidden. My intentions toward you were never pure. As he spoke, his arm tightened around my waist. His fingers trailed my neck, brushing along my artery. A chill crept up my spine. It felt like he was studying where to bite down and end me. Wanwan, you shouldn't have made me angry. You're reborn too, aren't you? Every hair on my body stood on end. I stared at him in horror. How? He laughed softly. I was a little sad. Wanwan didn't buy me after rebirth. Didn't want any connection. Seems you truly hate me. Resent me. In the past life I was scum. I didn't protect you. Didn't cherish you. Only after you died did I realize, crushingly, that all the fame and power I'd chased weren't worth one of you. When I woke reborn, I was overjoyed. Even when I learned you were reborn too. Avoiding me, ignoring me, freezing me out, it didn't matter. I deserved it. I was prepared to chase you for a lifetime. Make up for everything. I'm changing. I'm trying Wanwan. His expression could no longer be called obsessive. It was a calm kind of madness. But how can you have someone else? How dare you think of being with anyone else? The sensation of being confined was exactly the same as the imprisonment of my previous life. I didn't even want to speak to him. My hands pushed desperately at his shoulders. But Potong suddenly caught my wrists and pinned them against the door. The door slammed with a sharp bang. The sound echoed unnervingly through the quiet night. Immediately, Xiao Heng's confused voice sounded from next door. Wanwan? What happened? The moment I got out a single word, warmth brushed my neck. Potong lowered his head and unhurriedly sucked on the skin over my vein, letting out a low laugh. Why isn't Wanwan answering? Tell him you're in your elder brother's arms, being kissed, being touched. Tell him your elder brother has been lying on the same bed he's using now, night after night recently, thinking of you, touching himself just to fall asleep. All warmth drained from me at such shameless, outrageous filth. I trembled with fury. In my past life, in this life, how much more humiliation did he want? His mouth latched harshly onto my neck again. Potong pulled me tightly into his arms. Wanwan, be good. Let's start over. Make him leave. At the height of my anger, I actually laughed. Start over? How? Does one rebirth magically make a village nobody worthy of the regent? You'll suddenly stop taking wives and concubines? Stop locking me in a remote villa. Absurd. How could Potong be so self-righteous, thinking my hatred was only because he supposedly failed to protect me? Wasn't it him who used me, tricked me? Him who didn't love me yet locked me up like a caged toy? Most of the pain I suffered came from him. I can. Potong replied almost instantly. Wanwan, in my past life I never meant to hurt you. I didn't know you cared so much about status. I thought you understood my intentions. The official world is treacherous, and you're too innocent. Marrying you would have harmed you. But that's all in the past. In this life I'll only have you, no one else. If you dislike it, I won't take the imperial exams, won't enter court. We'll stay in Qingchuan village and live quietly, alright? Wanwan. Trust me once more, okay? No. Ha. What good intentions? I don't care. I don't accept it. I don't believe him. All I know is that in my past life, his so-called protection was nothing but using and deceiving me. It was 10 years of being his hidden woman and his prisoner. If stabbing me is for my own good, I'd rather he never be good to me again. I can't bear it. Wanwan. My silence made Potong tense. His voice softened. Okay. Okay. My heart was cold. I had no words for such monstrous shamelessness. I could only give a powerless, icy laugh. Let's start from the beginning. Hearing that, Potong finally exhaled in relief. He hugged me like he'd retrieved a lost treasure. His arms even trembled. Wanwan, you've finally come back. Village chief looking for a son-in-law? What about Potong? He's clean now, not lame anymore, actually quite handsome. A lot of village girls want him. Perfect for your precious Jiao Jiao. You saved my life, money doesn't matter. This is to repay the favor. How about 1 coin? At the village chief's house, I placed Potong's deed of sale on the table and bargained with a smile. Start from the beginning? Fine. I choose a life without Potong. The village chief frowned, displeased. Wanwan, what nonsense are you saying? You can't return someone you bought. I calmly sipped tea and looked up. I say he can be returned. The village chief's expression darkened. He was about to scold me. I added lazily. Village chief, Xiao Heng is back. Did you know? He froze. Setting the teacup aside, I smiled at him. I remember your Jiao Jiao fancied Xiao Heng back then too. She even made a fuss, wanted me to give up the engagement. I felt guilty refusing her. After all, since childhood, Jiao Jiao always grabbed what she wanted, destroyed what she couldn't have. But that time, miraculously, she quieted down. I guess you thought of a clever way to coax her, right? The village chief forced a dry smile, nodding stiffly. Sweat formed on his forehead. I found it amusing but kept my expression pure and innocent. Xiao Heng said he wants to come personally one day to thank you and Jiao Jiao for making it all possible. No need. The village chief's face turned ghost white instantly. He hurriedly handed me a coin. I'll take Potong. No need to trouble young Master Xiao. He knew better than to provoke the Xiao family. Also, village chief, you saved my life once. I'm giving your daughter a marriage. Let's call it even, yes? How about we put it in writing? Debts cleared, no further ties? In case he regretted it and came pestering me later. The village chief's lips trembled. After several changes of expression, he finally spat out, "Ungrateful girl." When I returned home, Potong was drying herbs, blatilla and noto ginseng. In the courtyard, Xiao Hung lounged on a recliner nearby, sunbathing. A seemingly peaceful scene. But the conversation was anything but friendly. "I'm not her brother," Potong said first after arranging the herbs. Xiao Hung opened his eyes lazily. "I figured." "Speak." Potong was direct. "Name your price." "Anything. I want her." Xiao Hung laughed. "Funny. I want her too." Potong sneered, voice turning vile. "Even if her first man was me?" My face drained of colored my fists clenched, body trembling. Shameless. How could matters of a past life be brought up in this one? Tisk. Xiao Hung frowned. Shame consumed me entirely. Only a spineless man brags about a woman's chastity. First man? So impressive. Were you her first man? Was she your first woman? Potong came from a noble family. Serving maids were standard. How could I be his first? His smile vanished. His expression darkened. "Oh? Not? Then what are you bragging about?" Xiao Hung curled his lip disdainfully. "Couldn't even save your first time for the woman you claim to love. Pathetic." My breath caught. Perhaps too long apart, or because he now looked so steady, so aloof, I had forgotten how viciously sharp-tongued Xiao Hung used to be. His words made Potong's face turn iron blue, like he'd fight any moment. But Xiao Hung had injuries on both arms, he'd be at a disadvantage. I quickly made some noise and stepped forward. Both men looked toward me immediately. Potong smiled first. "Wanwan almost done drying the herbs. Need to replenish soon." "No need. We don't need to replenish anything. I had enough money now. Originally I planned to save 100 taels to repay the village chief for raising me. But now that was unnecessary. Debts cleared. No one owed anything. The 20 taels I had were enough for the first leg of my journey. With my medical skills I could earn as I traveled if needed. Oh, such a pity my arms are injured. I can't help." Xiao Hung sat up on the recliner, sighing dramatically. "Really troubling you, elder brother? With elder brother being so capable, Wanwan and I are truly blessed." Potong narrowed his eyes, glare sharp as blades aimed at Xiao Hung. Xiao Hung didn't back down, meeting him equally fiercely. "Xiao Hung." I stepped between them quickly. "Your wounds aren't serious anymore. Return to the barracks today. My elder brother's leg hasn't fully healed. I'll escort you back." Potong raised a brow and smirked at Xiao Hung. Xiao Hung choked, inhaled, then gave me a deep look before turning back inside. I shook my head helplessly, then arms wrapped around my waist. Potong rested his chin on my shoulder, whispering, "Come back early." I lowered my gaze and didn't respond. "Go to the village chief at dusk. He changed your status. You're no longer a slave but a registered farmer. Remember to collect it." Potong nodded obediently. "All right." Xiao Hung led the way as I escorted him back to the barracks. With enemy spies nearby, the military camp was extremely hidden. Without a guide, ordinary people would never find the gate. This time I saw it clearly. Even walk through openly. Change the dressing every 2 days. Eat lightly. Don't get the wounds wet. And no strenuous activity, it'll tear open the stitches. While changing his bandage, I listed instructions. Halfway through, I realized Xiao Hung was silent. When I looked up, he was watching me with a deep, unreadable gaze. "Must you leave? Is our engagement truly void?" "How could it not be, Xiao Hung?" I untied the love knot around my waist and tried to hand it to him. He clenched his fist, refusing to take it. Helpless, I said, "Will you give up your ambitions, desert the army, never fight again? Or should I abandon my dreams, sit alone at home day after day waiting for your return? That life, I lived it for 10 years in my past life. I never want to repeat it. I only want freedom." Xiao Heng's expression darkened. I smiled faintly and tried to pry open his hand. For two people with clashing paths, the best ending is to forget each other and part ways. Xiao Heng's fist suddenly opened, but he didn't take the love knot. Instead he clasped my hand tight. They're not clashing, Wanwan. When the nation is peaceful and no longer needs me, I can accompany you. Travel the world with you. As long as you're willing to wait. His eyes were bright dark, filled with unmistakable sincerity. Just like 4 years ago. I lowered my gaze, guilt flooding me. This mismatched childhood sweetheart bond, separated by 30 years. I had no love left for him. Seeing my silence, Xiao Heng clicked his tongue, his unruly side surfacing. Even after you supposedly broke the engagement, I waited for you 4 years. Shouldn't you wait for me too? Besides, the engagement wasn't nothing. I want compensation. If you ever marry or keep someone by your side, I take the first spot. If I'm dead by then, fine, pick someone else. I stared at him, stunned. After a long moment, I let out a helpless laugh. Where did you learn to be such a rascal? Xiao Heng pursed his lips. Just answer, will you wait for me or not? I left the barracks the next morning. Xiao Heng's stubbornness surfaced. He refused to see me off. He said, we'll meet again sooner or later. No need for farewells. Wait properly for me to find you. Don't wander too far. The path down the mountain was lush with green. I glanced down at the love knot still tied at my waist and smiled faintly. I didn't notice the figure standing ahead of me on the path, like an avenging god or blazing with fury. Not until I walked straight into his chest, and a strong hand clamped around my neck. Qin Wanwan. How dare you? How dare you? Pei Jiutong's eyes were bloodshot. His hand around my neck was vicious, yet trembling. I slapped at his hand repeatedly, useless. Breathing grew difficult. My face turned red. Just when I was on the verge of suffocating, Pei Jiutong dragged me closer by the neck and kissed me. Wildly, frantically. Between our lips I finally inhaled fresh air. My chest heaved violently as I gulped it down greedily. My lips were bitten harshly, Pei Jiutong plundering me as if wanting to devour me whole. And then he released me right as my legs were about to give out. Qin Wanwan, do you even have a heart? I waited with full anticipation for your return, only to hear you sold me. This is your start from the beginning? A beginning without me? Yes. I covered my neck, breathing deeply. My gaze toward him held not a trace of warmth. How does it feel? Being used? Fantasizing? Full of hope for a future with someone, only to find it's all a lie? Does it feel good? Isn't that exactly how you treated me in our past life? Pei Jiutong's body jerked violently, veins bulging on his clenched fists. His eyes flashed with raw pain, wounded to the core yet powerless. Finally, he let out a bitter laugh. You really take advantage of my reluctance to hurt you, to wound me so wantonly. Wanwan, don't push me. You know I'm not a good man. There was a vulnerability in his tone, something he had never shown in either life. But instead of softening, it put me on full alert. I didn't dare relax. Don't push me either. I just want to leave you. Pei Jiutong threw his head back and laughed, but a tear slid from the corner of his eye. He sniffed, wiping it away as he laughed brokenly. You really know how to make me wish for death, Wanwan. Why? I've already explained. Why must you leave? Wanwan, didn't you love me? How can you bear to abandon me? I know I was wrong, but I'm making up for it. I'm changing. Wait for me, okay? We finally got reborn. Can we really not wipe away the past and start anew? I looked at the tear at the corner of his eye and slowly shook my head. No, it couldn't be wiped away. Not all hardships and apologies deserved forgiveness. Pei Jiutong's eyes turned ruthless at my shake of the head. He suddenly laughed coldly, his lips curling into an icy, sinister smile. Fine. Won't take kindness, huh? Wanwan, you're forcing me to act like a scoundrel. As soon as he finished speaking, his eyes sharpened. He raised his hand to knock me unconscious, but I moved faster. A flash of cold light. The dagger in my hand sank into his left shoulder. Blood gushed forth. Had I known you were reborn too, I said coldly, I should have killed you the day I bought you back. Pei Jiutong let out an agonized, bitter smile. He wiped his face resolutely, hatred filling his eyes. Am I truly that unforgivable? In my past life, aside from freedom, I gave you everything. I went that far, what more do you want? I just had no choice. Gave me everything. Hearing that only made me want to laugh. Even now, he kept insisting he loved me, protected me. Potong, have you ever thought that imprisoning me outside the capital, not daring to marry me, was because you couldn't face yourself? You never loved me as much as you say. You just couldn't bear to let go, because my love and care for you were without profit, something no one else could give you once you reached high status. But at the same time you didn't dare face it, you didn't dare marry me. Because my presence would constantly remind you. The esteemed regent was once a husband bought for 10 coins by a country bumpkin. Once schemed and fawned over that same bumpkin to achieve his goals. So he couldn't bear to let me go, yet didn't dare face me. He could only keep me confined outside, unworthy of a title. He didn't care whether I felt humiliated, or whether I wanted to be imprisoned. He stole my freedom, betrayed my sincere heart, trampled my dignity and my life, left me with nothing but breath. And he had the audacity to claim he gave me everything except freedom. Gripping the dagger tighter, I looked straight at Potong. After you also lose your freedom for 10 years, after you feel that day after day despair and hopeless resignation, then come talk to me about forgiveness. In truth, what I meant was, there was absolutely no possibility of forgiveness. We were not people who could coexist again after forgiving. But Potong looked like a drowning man grasping driftwood. His eyes brightened. Pressing his bleeding shoulder, he actually smiled. All right. 10 years. After that day, I never saw Potong again. Nor did I see Xiaoheng. I traveled the lands, practiced medicine, wandered through mountains and rivers. As if fearing a repeat, I never stayed long in one place. But in the 4th year of my travels, I reached the bridge of matrimony in Chuanzhou town. The bridge was filled with lovers' wish ribbons. Some new, some faded so badly the writing couldn't be read. I stood there from dawn until dusk, until the moonlight grew bright, and even the people floating lanterns beneath the bridge had gone. Only then did I sigh softly. Xiaoheng, I fulfilled the promise. You can't blame me anymore. The 4-year agreement had been special treatment for Xiaoheng. Before I left the barracks, we agreed to meet here 4 years later. If the war was over by then, and he was alive, we'd travel together. Today he didn't come. Lowering my head silently, I looked at the faded love knot at my waist, my gaze trembling faintly. I would rather believe the Northern War was still ongoing than consider the other possibility. Turning, I walked down the bridge step by step. Clip-clop, clip-clop. Galloping hoofbeats approached from afar. I turned suddenly. Saw Xiaoheng in dark martial attire speeding toward me. Bold and unrestrained. His horse skidded to a stop. He dismounted, breath ragged, standing at the foot of the bridge. He shook his head at me speechlessly. Nearly killed me, Wanwan. Next time we make a date, ask ahead properly. Do you know Chuanzhou has 12 bridges nicknamed the Bridge of Matrimony? I nearly died searching for you today. Standing on the bridge, I looked at the sweat trickling down his forehead, and couldn't help laughing. Much later. I can't remember if it was 10 years later or how many. Xiaoheng and I were riding north on horseback, planning to see the snow-capped mountains. Somewhere along the outskirts of the capital, a vague figure began following us. Not too far, not too near, just following. Never approaching, never falling behind. If he wants to follow, let him. Xiaoheng tightened his arm around my waist and planted a kiss on my lips. Isn't it nice to have an extra witness to our happiness? I tilted my head to look at him. You know who it is? Xiaoheng snorted. You don't. Well, I had a pretty good idea. But it didn't matter. Although speaking of which, that liar. Xiaoheng suddenly added. I blinked. Liar how? He claimed he was your first man, had me jealous for ages. But turns out, it was me all along. I lowered my gaze, touched my nose a little embarrassed. Are we going or not? Going. Taking my wife with me.
Thank you for listening Beneath the Moonlight. If this story touched your heart, remember to subscribe to Moonlit Love Stories for more tales of love and destiny. Until we meet again, may the moonlight keep you company.